Hey guys, Dorky DIY Dad here, coming to you from one of the bathrooms in our house where I am addressing a small leak coming out of our cold water valve right here in our bathroom sink. So if this is something you're experiencing too, stick around and I'll show you a couple tips on how to fix it. Okay, so my wife and I have noticed a small leak coming from right underneath the handle on the cold water side of our faucet, and recognize that it's only going to get worse over time, so trying to address it now before it becomes a big issue. So the first thing I'm going to do is shut off the water. In my case, there is a shut off underneath the sink. It's just a standard quarter turn shut off valve, so make sure you do that first. I'll explain why that is important here in a couple minutes. So I did pre-loosen all of the connections here. Hopefully none of your connections are this loose. If they are, that's possibly why you have a leak. But in my case, holding a camera and also trying to do plumbing work, I'm just not that good. So I did help myself out a little bit and pre-loosen everything. So first thing here is using an Allen key. Just going to loosen the set screw on the side of the handle, and then you can just lift the handle off. And under here, you'll find your cartridge, and that's actually what turns the water on and off for the sink. And then there's a nut down here. Again, it's loose because I pre-loosened everything. To loosen this, I used an 8-inch crescent wrench, and you'll begin to take this off. And as I had said just a couple minutes ago, make sure you turn your water off. If you haven't turned your water off or your shutoff valve is not working, you will find out pretty quickly once you start this. So this nut is actually what's holding the water pressure back. So just unthread that, and then you can pull this cartridge out. And this cartridge is actually, it's what controls the water flow. In my case, I found some debris on this O-ring. It's this black ring right here. Try and point to it with my thumb. There was some debris on it, and surprisingly, just a small amount of debris can cause a leak path, which is what was causing my leak. So this is a pretty standard O-ring here, so I just rubbed it off with my fingers, just kind of some gunk from years of use on there, and then you just put it back in. Now, this cartridge does only go in one of two ways. In my case, you can see if you look from the top down, there's a flat right here. That flat needs to be pointing out to the right of this of the faucet. And that flat is what this handle hooks onto, and which is what allows you to turn the faucet on and off. Now, say you do all of this and you still have a leak, what's your next option here? So this is a Delta faucet. The nice thing about using a name brand like a Delta or a Moen or any other big brand is this cartridge is most likely going to be pretty standard. So you could go to a plumbing supply store, you could go to Lowe's, Home Depot, take the cartridge with you, and someone at the store should be able to help you match this cartridge. Unfortunately, if you have an off-brand, so like say if you buy something online and it's not one of the big brands, you might have a harder time finding replacement parts. That's just unfortunately one of the drawbacks to using those kinds of parts. So for the case of plumbing, I always like to use name brand parts so you can find replacement parts pretty easily. So you could go to the store, just take this cartridge with you. They might be able to help you troubleshoot the specific part on this assembly that has failed, or they might just tell you to buy a new cartridge, which is frankly probably the easier thing to do. And then when you get back home, all you're going to do is assemble this back in, and then you thread your nut back on top. And again, I'm not going to use a wrench right now. I'll do that when I'm done videoing. Just, again, trying to do all this one hand is a little tricky. But as with anything in plumbing, don't crank down on this connection. Sometimes the tighter you get, you can start to warp pieces and parts, and you can actually cause another leak. So sometimes a little bit looser is better. So once you've got that snug back down, you put your handle back on top, and then you just tighten your set screw, and then turn the water back on underneath the sink or wherever you shut it off at, and test it, and hopefully that fixed your problem. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Until next time, I'm the Dorky DIY Dad.